What is up, everybody? 03 Canadian F5 here with another one of my random how-to videos. So what I'm going to run through today is setting up your GoPro so that you can charge while you record. Really great thing is that the GoPro there's nothing special that you actually have to do to be able to charge and record right now. So right now, I'm not sure if you can actually see it, but the GoPro is actually charging right now. So it's set for upside down mode right now, and hopefully you guys can see the display changing, counting up. So that's a nice little 20-30 second video of the GoPro recording as it's charging. Now the problem that we have with the GoPro set up this way. Okay, so this is your case. Put the GoPro in the case, and okay, let's plug it into charge now. See, that's the problem right there. So what I've actually gone out and done is bought a second case. So what I've already modified this older case so that I could plug in my mono lapel mic that I use for recording my driving vlogs, which some of you may or may not have already seen. And what I decided that I'm going to do now is cut out this hole here that I've marked off with a Sharpie already, and that should allow me to plug in the USB cable to the GoPro, which will then allow me to charge the GoPro in the truck while I'm recording my videos. The other thing that I'm also going to do is I find that the GoPro itself attracts a lot of attention. So with that being said, what my plans were to actually take this case and paint it all black. A nice, I don't know, I'm thinking either a nice gloss black or a matte finish. We'll see. I'm going to go with the gloss first because it's harder to paint over the matte finish Krylon with the gloss and having it look good in the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to take the GoPro case apart. I'm going to actually show you how to cut the hole. This I drilled out and enlarged with a rat tail file. Then I'm going to show you how to cut this out using a soldering iron with a specific plastic tip to melt it. And then I'll show you how to take this apart so that you don't have to worry about trying to mask off the buttons and whatnot. Because if these little buttons are painted, black, we're going to have some issues attempting to, when you press on the buttons, you're just going to peel the paint off. Right on, so here we are in the workshop. So first thing you're going to want to do, disassemble the case. If you have precision screws or screwdrivers, you're going to need them for this step. Also, try not to lose these. So if you've got some sort of a container, right on, so that is the lens of the case. You won't need these again till later. Now what you'll need, if you have them, is a set of long nose or needle nose pliers. And you'll see this is what actually pushes the buttons on the GoPro. And this is a C-clip. So you're going to push it in, you're going to grab a hold of it with the pliers and just kind of yank it off. And then there's going to be a spring and a few gaskets that come out of here. There's one C-clip. And here is the whole dog and pony show. This next one will be a little bit more challenging to get out of here. There we go. We bent it a little bit, but since it's such a small C-clip, we can just take the needle nose and squeeze it and straighten it out. And this whole button comes out. So now this is where you have the choice of doing a few different things to cut the case. If you've got a crappy old flathead screwdriver like what I've got here, this is my pry on everything and scrape shit off of stuff screwdriver. You can take that with a torch, if you so choose, heat up the screwdriver, use that to cut the hole out, and you're golden. The method that I'm going to use today is something that maybe not everybody has access to. So this is an older Weller pistol type soldering iron, and this is a tip specifically for cutting plastic. So you'll see it has been used for that purpose before. So if anybody does have this style of soldering iron, I'll just let you know that when you are swapping these and you're tightening the back down, don't go nuts. Finger tight is almost good enough, really. We'll just torque it down slightly. I'm legitimately just using one finger. You don't want to break anything. This soldering iron in general is about 30 years old. It's my father's. Okay. Right, so it's going to be the proper size. Now we're going to heat it up. You can smell it getting hot. The old plastic on it. Right. So we'll let that cool down. Right, so a good way to clean these edges up now that we've cut out, believe it or not, is with a pair of smaller side cutters. The rest we can do with a file and some sandpaper. So I'll clean this up and I'll show you the prep process for the rest of the case to get our paint to stick. Alright, so one thing I wanted to I forgot to show you guys. This is a rat tail file. It's round. This is actually very useful for getting rid of burrs in tighter places like what we've created here. So we'll give this a little... Right, and inside we'll actually just use a flat file such as this one here. Won't fit there, but it'll fit here. Those are much nicer edges than what we had before. A little cleaner than what it was. So now what we want to double check is that the GoPro, we can actually plug in our GoPro when it's in here. So you can see this. Money. It's charging. Don't have any buttons on it just yet. Now a few of you are probably wondering why I've got the electrical tape in different places here on the GoPro. And it is, I wanted a tighter fit for the GoPro in its case. I found that in some instances, like when I had the GoPro mounted on the snowmobile this winter, you'd actually pick up a lot of vibration. I'm still trying to isolate all of the vibration out of the camera for hard mounting the GoPro on the snowmobile itself. I don't have any issues with vibration when it's on my helmet because my head doesn't vibrate like a snowmobile does. Right, so we'll grab some fine sandpaper and just go over this with it. So for the most part that gets rid of those burrs. I got a few of them inside here. So now the big thing is when we have the GoPro working, right, we need to be able to see that this is where the monitor goes on the GoPro. So that will have to be masked off. Gonna work it into the edges. Just follow the outline with a small razor blade. You can do this with an X-Acto. So now we are all set. Now the other masking that we have to do is obviously on the inside of this thing, because we don't want to, doesn't exactly matter, but we do need to close up these holes so that no paint gets inside and goes where we don't want it to. Right, so I was looking at this and there's a surface here where it seals. It's not a big deal, but if I ever do want to take this apart, I don't necessarily want that seal to stick. So what I'm going to do, just kind of give that a quick mask. So it's not perfect, but it's good enough. So now what you're going to want is either some fine sandpaper, or what I have is an actual scuff pad. So this will, you can see this here. Scuff up the plastic. Scuffing it up like this is a necessary step if you want to have good paint bonding. Sorry, I'm struggling to keep this in the field of view of the lens here. Right, so there's the top mostly done. Let's try and get it as good as you can, really. A couple of spots where it's still a little clear. In hindsight, and I found my green painter's tape when I went to get my scuff pad, we'll mask this part off. The part that contacts the actual GoPro mount. I would just feel better if it wasn't painted. Uncured paint, because I will be using this this case tomorrow. Uncured paint could cause some sticking issues with the mounts. So now all this needs is a quick wipe down. So I have an old bottle of fuel deicer. It's basically pure alcohol. It's an old loincloth. So the nice thing about the alcohol is it will dry almost instantly. It's going to wipe any plastic dust off, any debris that will just hinder the adhesion of the paint. So the next step is adhesion promoter. You're going to want to coat this in it, maybe 1 or 2 light coats. Let that dry, and then we're going to hit it with some gloss black duplicolor. Ouch. Right on. So we're still just a little tacky. So what I decided to do was take the blow dryer that we have instead of the heat gun, just put it on warm, low, and just help the curing process along a little bit. A little humid today, so it does slow down the drying. It does make the drying time a little longer. Consider that to be good enough. Right, so moment of truth, of course. Well, come on, there we go. Paint's nice and dry now. So there's that. Not too shabby. Now you can see some of the crinkles that I got in the paint. 100% due to the flash drying of the adhesion promoter. Disappointing, yes, because the finish would have been much nicer had it not been for that. But at the same time, it's a butchered GoPro case. I'm not that worried about it. So now the next step is to reassemble the GoPro housing. Once again, we're going to need a precision screwdriver set. Now remember those chunks of tape that stuck in here? Trying to peel those out, so that's nice and clean in there. So we'll pull this over here. Step 1. Let's put this lens back on. A little bit of dirt on the seal here. But this thing is no longer waterproof, so I'm not worried about it. So the first thing we're going to want to do is apparently... Okay, so here's a nice tip. Use a dish that's bigger than this so that it's easier to get the pieces out in the future. So if we can get one screw going, we'll be good to go. There we go. Don't over tighten these. Okay, time to put the buttons back in. Kind of hard for you guys to see what I'm doing here, eh? Alright, so I'm just trying to line this up here and hopefully be able to push it on. Now this is actually a really difficult thing to do. Keeping it in the camera view is actually kind of difficult in attempting to do this as well. So what I'm going to do, you guys don't have to forgive me here, but it's the only way this is going back on. So if you're doing this, you're going to have to, oops, you have to figure out your own way to do it. There we go. So the way I did it is I took the needle nose pliers and you kind of grab a hold of the pin and the other side. I'm just going to focus that so you guys can see a little better. Grab a hold of the pin, the other side of the clip, and just push it on. Push it onto the button. Right, so next button. It should be just as much fun as this last one was. And that one went on without a hitch. Perfect. So once you figure out the trick, the next couple of times that you attempt this go a lot easier. So this is what a normal housing looks like. This is what the new black one looks like. I'm going to go put a sticky mount on the bottom of my mirror in the truck, and I'm going to show you guys the difference in, we'll go with stealthiness. Right, so there's the GoPro mounted on the mirror, hard mounted. That setup may change. What I have down here is from Think Geek. It's called the Over 9000. So it is a, sorry about the shaky camera. So it is a USB charger. Right, so what I'm going to do right now is just connect it to USB. There you go. So it is currently charging. So that's my GoPro charging. Oops. Let's get this in here properly. There we go. So my GoPro is now set up to charge and film at the same time. So now this is well, now I basically have infinite battery life on my GoPro, which is great. I figured out that my issues where the GoPro would stop filming after about 20 seconds were directly related to the aftermarket batteries that I bought off of eBay. So yeah, the aftermarket batteries on eBay, cheap. I kind of expected them not to last as long as they were advertised. But at the same time, I didn't think that they would cause another issue like that. And the error that it was giving me, because when I had the LCD backpack on the back of the GoPro, the error that I was getting was an actual low speed card error, which I have a class 10 card in this thing, so that really shouldn't have happened. So yeah, there's the GoPro setup. I'll do a quick walk around to the truck so that you guys can see it. All right, you can't see it. Okay guys, so that's my quick how-to on how to stealth mount a GoPro inside of your vehicle. I mean, the paint did not exactly come out the way I hoped it would, but I mean, that's my own stupidity. So learn from my mistakes. Too much heat, which I should have known, is not a good thing when you're trying to dry adhesion promoter or paint. A cooler, just like a warmer flow of air over the surface will dry it faster without flash drying it, which you just saw. Please excuse the mess on my desk. I've been trying to organize things. I got lots of cables running everywhere. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know in the comments if there's something different that you would have liked to see me do. Again, you know, I'm open to criticism. Right, so please comment, like, subscribe, and feel free to follow me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/03CanadianF5. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next time.